My mother, Anathema Calloway, has never once believed a text message needed a good time of day. I was in a hotel room in Seattle, 3 time zones from home, when my phone lit the ceiling at 2 in the morning. Mom, finally did something about that house of yours. You're welcome. I sat up in the dark. The house was mine. A 3-bedroom colonial at 1417, Marymount Lane in Alexandria, Virginia, 15 minutes from the federal courthouse on Diagonal Road, 20 minutes from my office in Arlington. I had picked it myself, for reasons I never explained at any family table. Now, let me back up. I am a Deputy United States Marshal. For years now. My mother tells people at church, at her salon, at every holiday dinner since, that I work in office administration. Easier that way. Quieter. My grandfather Thaddeus Calloway used to say it different. Write it down, Velvet. Then you'll always know it was true. Navy man, 30 years. And he taught me to keep a log of everything before he ever taught me to ride a bike. The day I left for my first deployment, he pressed a brass compass into my palm. The rim dented from a ship deck in 1974. This will always point you home, he said. He died the year I made Marshal. I still carry that compass in my left jacket pocket, every day. I was raised to believe family helps family. Nobody ever explained what happens when family helps itself to something that was never theirs to give. My phone buzzed again. Mom sold it. You were never there anyway, always traveling for that job of yours. The money will help your sister with her wedding. I read it twice before my hands understood what my eyes already knew. Let me tell you how we got to that message. Because by the time I landed back in Virginia the next morning, I already knew the house wasn't the only thing I was about to lose. What happened 2 weeks before that text explains everything that came after. I need you to hear it before I tell you the rest. My mother has a redeeming habit of remembering birthdays down to the card store she bought them from. The year I cracked my collarbone in a training exercise, she drove 3 hours to sit in my kitchen and cook every meal herself for a month. She never once asked why my house sat empty so much of the year, or why I flinched when my phone rang late. That was the woman I trusted enough to leave my power of attorney unrevoked. It was signed 6 years earlier, before my first deployment to Afghanistan, before I ever wore a badge. I meant to cancel it the day I came home. I never did. That's the kind of thing you forget when you're busy building a career instead of a filing system. 2 weeks before the text, my mother called me on a Sunday. Her voice was warmer than it had been in months. We were just talking about you at the club, she said. Everyone's so proud, even if we don't get to see you enough. Rachel's dress fitting is Thursday. You should come. I remember sitting on my porch step, phone against my ear, thinking maybe things really were getting easier between us. I told her I'd try to make it. I meant it. I didn't know that somewhere between the appetizer course and dessert, she'd mentioned to a woman she barely knew that her daughter owned a house in Alexandria that sat empty most of the year. I didn't know a real estate agent named Linda Marsh would call 4 days later saying she had buyers ready. Cash. No inspection needed. I didn't know any of it, because nobody asks permission before they decide your life is theirs to spend. I keep coming back to that Sunday call. The warmth in her voice. How good it felt to believe for one afternoon that we were fine. But 2 weeks after that call, my phone lit up the ceiling of a hotel room in Seattle. And I found out exactly what fine had cost me. It was only the beginning. What happened next took less than an hour, but it changed how I see my whole family. I called my supervisor, Errol Whitfield, from the back of a cab on the way to Reagan National. He picked up on the third ring, voice rough with sleep. Calloway, it's the middle of the night. Sir, my family sold my house. The one on Marymount Lane. The line went quiet in a way that told me he already knew what that address meant before I said another word. The safe house, he said. Yes, sir. He didn't raise his voice. He never does. That's how I knew it was bad, because Errol Whitfield only gets quiet when something is serious. Get back to DC. I'm calling in the response team. By the time I landed, I had 17 messages from my mother, each one a different shade of "you're overreacting." I didn't answer any of them. I drove straight to Arlington, where Errol was waiting in a secure conference room with our legal counsel, Ellison Brooks, and 2 senior marshals. I laid it out for them the way I'd laid out 100 incident reports before. Plainly in order, no adjectives. That habit came from my grandfather. He used to make me recount my school day like a ship's log. Facts first. Feelings after if there's time. Ellison pulled the property records up on her laptop while I talked. Her face changed halfway through. The sale went through a company called Riverside Holdings, she said. Registered in Delaware. Ownership's buried under 3 shell layers. That means something to you? I asked. It means somebody wanted this specific house, she said. Not just any house. Yours. We drove to Marymount Lane with a full tactical team behind us. Cove Ramsey was at the kitchen table when we came through the door, her daughter beside her with a half-eaten sandwich, her son cross-legged on the floor with a coloring book. Cove's face went pale the second she counted the number of marshals in her doorway. Did they find us? No, ma'am, Errol said. But we're moving you. 10 minutes. Essentials only. I watched her hands shake as she folded her son's clothes into a duffel bag. I thought about the compass in my pocket. I didn't touch it. Not yet. We had her out the door in 8 minutes. What happened at the farm is the part one still see most clearly, even now. We drove out to my uncle's property outside Harrisburg in 3 unmarked cars. Myself, Errol, Ellison, and 4 agents. 50 acres, a long gravel driveway, the smell of barbecue drifting off the back patio by the time we arrived. My mother spotted me first and waved, that same warm smile from our Sunday phone call. Then she saw the suits behind me, and the smile folded in on itself. Sarah, Velvet, what is this? I walked across the grass. My father set his beer down slow, like it might explain something if he moved carefully enough. My sister, Blair, came around the side of the house with her fiancé, Kellen Hastings, a step behind her. We need to talk about the house, I said. Oh, for heaven's sake, my mother said. Are you still upset about that? That house was federal property, I said. It was sheltering a protected witness in an active organized crime case. I kept my voice level. I have learned that the quieter I get, the more people lean in to hear me, and the more they hear, the less they can pretend not to understand. The laughter around the grill died out one conversation at a time. That's impossible, my father said. You told us you worked in office administration. I'm a deputy U.S. Marshal, I said. For years. Errol stepped forward and opened his badge. Deputy Chief Marshal Errol Whitfield. Mr. and Mrs. Calloway, you sold federal property without authorization. You may have compromised an active protection case. My mother grabbed my father's arm. We didn't know. You didn't ask, I said. Ellison explained the shell company. Explained that an $850,000 cash sale for a house worth nearly 3 times that should have raised a question nobody thought to ask. Explained that the buyers were connected to the same organized crime family my witness was testifying against. My father's face went the color of the ash in the grill. You're saying we helped them? Unknowingly, Ellison said. But yes. Blair pushed forward. Mom and Dad got me $400,000 for my wedding. You can't possibly be upset. That money came from an illegal sale of federal property, I said. It's going to be seized. Seized. My mother's voice cracked. That's our money. It was never yours, I said. I reached into my jacket pocket without thinking and closed my hand around the compass. The metal was warm from being carried all day. My grandfather never once asked permission before doing the right thing. He just did it, quietly, and let the results speak. 2 agents stepped toward my parents with the warrant. Mr. and Mrs. Calloway, we have a warrant to seize all proceeds from the sale, and to take you into custody on charges including witness tampering and theft of government property. My father turned to me, desperate now. Sarah, tell them it was a misunderstanding. I looked at him for a long moment. You sold a safe house to the people trying to kill a mother and her 2 children, I said. Whether you meant harm or not, you nearly got them killed. I'm not stopping this. I wouldn't if I could. They took my parents into custody as the sun went down over the field. Nobody at that reunion said another word to me. I didn't need them to. What I learned after the farm took much longer to settle than the case itself. My parents were convicted 6 months later. Witness tampering, theft of government property. My father got 4 years. My mother got 3, plus 2 years of supervised release. Blair lost the wedding fund, the venue deposit, and eventually Kellen, who left saying he needed time to think. She moved to Oregon not long after. Cove Ramsey and her children were relocated to a secure facility out of state. She testified. The man behind Riverside Holdings is serving 20 years for witness tampering. Last Christmas, she sent me a card with a photo of her kids, both of them grinning gap-toothed in a backyard I'll never know the address of. They were alive. That was enough. I visited my parents once before they were transferred to serve their sentences. They sat across from me in Orange, looking a decade older than they had on that lawn in Pennsylvania. We didn't know they were connected to anyone dangerous, my father said. We didn't know any of it, because you never told us what you really do. I couldn't tell you, I said. And clearly I was right not to. My mother's hands trembled on the table between us. Is this our punishment? Prison? For trying to help our daughter? Cove Ramsey is alive because we moved fast enough, I said. If we hadn't, you'd be facing something far worse than 4 years. I stood to leave. My father asked, quiet now, when we get out, will you forgive you? I said, I don't know yet. 2 years later, a letter came from my mother, 8 pages of apology and explanation, mailed from a facility in West Virginia. I read it once. Then I filed it with the case documents, the way my grandfather taught me to file everything that mattered. Errol found me at my desk that afternoon. Heard your mother reached out. You going to give her what she wants? I thought about the compass in my pocket, the dent along its rim from a ship deck in 1974. My grandfather never explained himself to anyone either. He just did the right thing and let the quiet speak for him. Not today, I said. Family's important, Errol said. So is protecting people who can't protect themselves, I said. So is keeping boundaries with people who've proven they can't be trusted with them. He nodded and let it go. My parents are in Florida now, away from the whispers back home. They write on birthdays and holidays. I haven't answered yet. Maybe someday I will. Maybe someday I'll be able to sit across from them without seeing Cove Ramsey's face in that kitchen doorway, counting badges instead of finishing her sandwich. But not today. My grandfather used to say it best. Write it down. Then you'll always know it was true. I wrote it down. Every page of it. And when the day came, the paper trail is what saved 3 lives that weren't mine to save, and never asked to be. If you've ever had to choose between the family that raised you and the people who were counting on you to do your job right, tell me. I'd like to know I'm not the only one who's had to make that call.